Let's go, Gangnam Style. He's heard Gangnam Style, he knows it.
Why do we listen to music we don't understand? Humans have been creating music since 35,000 years ago, a whole 30,000 years before written language was even invented. Aside from whales and dolphins, humans are known to be the only mammal species that make music. But that doesn't mean everyone is Beethoven. In fact, most of us have no knowledge of what a musical note actually is, and the only song we remember by heart is Happy Birthday. It takes a lot of hard work, practice, talent, and even luck for people to create music that is heard beyond a person's close circle of friends. It's even harder to create a song that captures the entire world for years on end. When I purchased the track Gangnam Style in 2012 and contributed to the many billions of views on the accompanying music video, I did not realize that for the next 12 months, I would not be able to escape constant Gangnam Style references. Conversations, world leaders, memes, and even the YouTube platform itself were permeating with the classic phrase,
Oppa Gangnam Style. Oppa Gangnam Style.
Open condom star?
with no end in sight. This was the peak of music videos, a time where music videos were the true catalyst for a song's recognition and success. A music video is what could make or break an artist's career, and artists that were able to craft the perfect video were forever cemented in internet and pop culture history. And it was Psy's Gangnam Style that held the title for the most viewed video on YouTube for the longest period of time. 16,089 days, or in other words, 4.5 years. The song would go down in history as the most memorable song of the internet age, and nothing will be able to compete with this masterpiece, not even BTS.
What's happening for him?
Ouch! Ow! I have 2 fingers.
In case you don't know me, my name is Shane. Nice to meet you.
I suspect is that they have really.
When YouTube started in 2005, the concept of an online video sharing platform was relatively new, but the novel premise of being able to share a candid moment with friends or covering a song for the whole world to see caught attention quickly, making YouTube one of the fastest growing sites across the World Wide Web. It went from 20,000 uploads a day in March of 2006 to 65,000 in July of the same year, but the type of content from this era wasn't exactly crafted. There were no smartphones, tutorials that could teach you every inch of a camera, or the new state-of-the-art Adobe production software.
Oh no! It's broken!
YouTube's early days were full of one-hit wonders, home videos, and commercial giants. By the end of the 2000s, you had homegrown creators such as Niga Higa, Fred, Shane Dawson, Smosh, and Ray William Johnson carving out some of the first online audiences ever with comedy-based content. While companies with unlimited budgets like Universal and the Warner Bros. Sought to buy an audience. YouTube classics like Charlie Bit My Finger, the Smosh Pokemon theme song, and the evolution of dance produced by creators held the title for the most viewed videos on the platform with little dominance from brands. But the Vivo partnership was about to change that.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Avril Lavigne's Girlfriend was released February 27th of 2007 and was the first Vivo music video to hold the prestigious title for 289 days. Then followed Bad Romance and the ever-so-titular child star Justin Bieber's decade-defining track, Baby, for 862 days. As is standard for breaking records, each track climbed in views, while YouTube became more popular and defined itself as the site for all video sharing, receiving so much traffic that the site alone began to consume more bandwidth than the entire internet of 2000. It seemed like this internet thing was here to stay. At the same time, Park Jae-sang, or better known by their stage name, Psy, was being drafted to the South Korean military in 2007 for the second time. Park grew up alongside his affluent family in the Gangnam district of Seoul, South Korea. At an early age, he was known by many as the class clown and a general troublemaker due to his obscene jokes that regularly disrupted class. He was never one that enjoyed the academic environment, and when 15-year-old Park saw a TV program of the British rock band Queen performing their hit single Bohemian Rhapsody at Wembley Stadium, let's just say he got an itch for music. After enrolling in Boston University for Business Administration in 1996, he lost interest in his studies, and that spark of music started to take over. He spent his remaining tuition funds on musical equipment, a computer, an electric keyboard, and a MIDI interface. Psy eventually released his debut album in January of 2001, which was fined by the South Korean government authorities due to its inappropriate content. Park's early tracks were unfiltered, featured peculiar dance moves, and were delivered by himself, which made them inherently intriguing, as many pointed out his unconventional appearance, compared to the typical K-pop star. Park released 4 more albums throughout the 2000s and stirred up lots of trouble along the way. He had a song that was banned due to complaints that it could have a negative influence on children and teenagers, and in 2003, Psy was drafted to the military as standard of a mandatory military service for men aged 18 to 35 in South Korea. But he was excused due to working for a software development company. But as I mentioned in 2007, state prosecutors accused Park of neglecting his work, as he was holding concerts and making live television appearances during those years. He held the rank of private first class and served as a signalman, eventually being released from his duties in July of 2009. Following his release, Park lacked the financial resources to release his own songs, which led him to sign with YG Entertainment. As per usual for Psy, when he released his 5th album in 2010, he stirred further controversy with the lead single Right Now for the lyric, "Life is like toxic alcohol," causing it to be banned from under 19 audiences by South Korean Ministry of Gender Equality and Family. But despite this pushback, Psy was awarded for several different categories at the Melon Music Awards and Mnet Asian Music Awards in 2011. In fact, Psy's music had topped the domestic music charts 6 times throughout his 12-year career. But this was only the start of his success. In 2012, he performed in front of 80,000 Japanese fans at the YG Family concert in Osaka. This was Psy's first appearance on a foreign broadcast network, and people outside of South Korea were finally getting to know his name. Little did he know, the entire world was about to know his name. Where did we leave off? Much like MTV, YouTube was being established as the mecca for music videos, which turned out to be majorly profitable for huge record companies due to the generous royalties and immense publicity. In the 1980s and 1990s, having your music video appear on MTV's music video segment was the holy grail of artists and record labels. But suddenly, you didn't need to land a highly competitive spot on the station. YouTube also gave viewers the freedom of replaying something over and over again to their heart's desire. And believe me, I got some miles out of this feature on some of my favorite childhood tracks. While mainstream radio is known for replaying the same tracks again and again over the span of a day, when there is a demand for a song, there's no way that they could keep up with YouTube. The radio no longer had captive attention, and listeners found physical copies of their favorite music less and less relevant. The slogan, "Broadcast yourself," resonated with many, and the competition began to build. But there was one song that would flip the entire internet on its head and demolish the track from the 2010s Side Part Swoosh King. It wasn't even a competition.
So I danced to this new song that I don't know if y'all know about this, Gangnam Style.
Gangnam Style has now become the most watched YouTube video ever.
How to say it or how to do it. I would say watch us, but we don't know what we're doing.
Gangnam Style was released in July of 2012, and where do I even begin? A summary in my little YouTube video is borderline impossible to convey the grip it had in the early 2010s. The track broke so many records, including the first video to reach 1 billion views. It dominated the Billboard of over 30 countries, set off flash mobs across major cities, and had a dance that was attempted by political leaders, such as the British Prime Minister and United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, who hailed it as a force for world peace. Not many artists can say that they contribute to world peace, but Psy can. Why was it so successful? Well, first I think we need to understand what Gangnam Style really means. The Gangnam District is a geographical and cultural region in Seoul, South Korea. Gangnam and the surrounding area are known for its affluence and luxury that its citizens can generously afford. Whether it be shopping throughout the commercial districts around Gangnam Highway and Station, coined as one of the most expensive retail markets in the world, or simply paying for the exorbitant rent in one of the many high-rise apartment complexes, it lives up to its lavish reputation. But the people who reside here are a different story. Looking at the music video itself, Psy is seen living the life throughout the video, lounging on the pristine sands, strutting down an alleyway with the tailored suit and 2 women by his side, having his own meet cute scene, and dozens of people following his every dance move. But something is off. He's not on a beautiful beach, he's laying in a children's playground. It's not confetti that surrounds him, but trash blowing directly in his face. His dance moves don't make him look so cool, if anything, they make him resemble a child. Gangnam Style is tied to a lifestyle from the region, where people have a reputation of being trendy, hip, and high class. But the video and song go against this notion on almost every level imaginable. Psy connected Gangnam to Beverly Hills and had this to say: "People who are actually from Gangnam never proclaim that they are. It's only the posers and wannabes that put on these airs and say that they are Gangnam Style." So this song is actually poking fun at those kinds of people who are trying very hard to be something they're not. But this cultural nuance was lost on so many Americans. So what pushed it to the top? The track's success is mostly attributed to its exceptionally catchy lyrics, social satire, and an absurd yet accessible dance. But there are a lot of songs with catchy choruses and a fun dance to accompany. So what made Gangnam Style so different? Around the same time of Gangnam Style's heyday, the US had another major hit topping the charts, Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen. The song was a bubblegum-infused love song that was layered in hooks and charted for 50 weeks straight, garnering 1.5 million views each day on YouTube. Yet Gangnam Style averaged over 9 million views per day within just 2 months. One of the biggest defining differences between the two hits was the language and cultural distinction. Call Me Maybe happened to remain a North American trend, versus Gangnam Style, which had an international interest, making the track not confined to the US. K-pop has seen huge dominance on the international music charts for the past couple of years, with artists such as BTS and Blackpink followed by millions of dedicated fans across the world and the US. But during 2012, K-pop was not widely consumed in the US. In fact, during 2011, mentions of K-pop on Twitter were at 15.7 million tweets, which seems very tiny compared to today's 7.5 billion tweets. Twitter, like many social media platforms, is what gave this genre the seed to grow to what it is today. And the masterminds behind the scenes, pun intended, knew exactly that. You see, South Korea is a relatively small country, both in landmass and population. This presents a challenge for any company that wants to keep on growing, so leaders have to get creative. It's also not really an option. They have to get creative, because not only do they have a size issue, they have a major geopolitical issue. The parcel of land that they have is cold, dense, hilly, and not rich in oil or anything important, causing them to rely on imports for energy, food, and fertilizer, the basic necessities to live. But their neighbors don't make the best trading buddies. North Korea constantly looming directly across the 38th parallel, bragging every month about their new artillery that could at any moment be dropped and cause mass destruction. Their other neighbor Japan, which they haven't been on great terms with since the time when Japan burned all their cities, killed their people, and forced themselves on their women, without ever really acknowledging these wrongdoings. And then you have China, which is one of their biggest trading partners. Yet the two countries have two separate ideological and economic systems, leaving South Korea to bribe the US for protection on imports. However, this was only possible after becoming one of the world's top exporting countries. You may be familiar with some of the massive automotive manufacturers from the country, Kia and Hyundai, which consistently rank in the top 5 lists of global vehicle producers, the masters behind the internet's favorite car, or the tech giant Samsung. These companies would be nowhere near the top if they only focused on the country's internal market, so they pivoted to focus on Western and other international markets. South Korea did this through a rigorous education system, lack of labor laws, and subsidized monopolies. So why not do the same thing with pop music? Moguls built hit factories, turned young singers into pop stars, training them in English and sending them across Asia and English-speaking countries. But unlike US's flagship tracks, from the very beginning, when a listener was to hear a K-pop song, they were doing something much different. When motion pictures became a thing in the late 1800s, they were completely revolutionary. People couldn't believe their eyes, but some actually did. A short about the arrival of a train caused people to physically jump out of their seats in fear of an oncoming train bursting out of the screen and crushing them violently. We all know the story of what happened after. Movies overtaking books and other still print and audio-based media in almost every measurable metric. So combining the music space with video seemed like a pretty good idea. Korea and Psy thought so too. They felt so strongly about this that unlike major US record labels, from the very beginning Korea's songs debuted on national television, not the radio. To quote this NPR article, that means the moment Koreans started listening to Korean pop music, they were listening through their screens. They were watching their music. And the fact that South Korea is much more tech savvy and hungry to be a major exporter in music, when YouTube came along, the record labels knew exactly what to focus on. Their planning and execution was so on point that Gangnam Style forever changed Billboard's ranking mythology. Instead of relying solely on radio plays and paid purchases, Billboard started to place a heavier emphasis on digital sales and YouTube views. So Psy's Gangnam Style was the culmination of K-pop's 20-year rise and development from a nation under pressure. That's it, right? No. I want to ask you a question before I dive deeper. Can you remember the last hit track that captivated people for months with undying growth and consistently filled the internet sphere? Well, if you're anything like me, the answer is probably no. Sure, Harry Styles released that one song, Bad Bunny had been releasing several hits, Miley Cyrus is back with some flowers, people thought this Sam Smith and Kim Petras song sounded better before they produced it, Olivia Rodrigo is crushing it, wow, I got a kick out of that one, oh, and Old Town Road, that was huge, right? Every single one of these songs got hundreds of millions of plays, if not billions, and certainly had their moment, but none of them created such a strong connection and feeling of community for the listeners. Obama wasn't singing As It Was, and to my knowledge, there were no flash mobs dedicated to Olivia Rodrigo's tracks. The leader of the United Nations certainly wasn't claiming WAP was creating world peace either. It felt like most of these tracks created a blip of attention and obsession for a week, a month, maybe in Old Town Road's case a little bit longer, but nothing like Gangnam Style. Why? When we see a train in a movie, we aren't scared for the fate of our lives anymore. In fact, causing violence on an extreme scale in a fake and the real world is not shocking to us anymore. We've all seen and heard so much, and the rate at which we are consuming this information is only speeding up.
We had a funeral.
When you hear something is viral now, that doesn't mean the same thing as it did in 2012. In fact, people don't really discuss the most viral thing anymore. Virality in the early 2010s meant that your mom, dad, teacher, and entire friend group saw the same 8-bit cat traveling through infinite space with a rainbow tail. Months later, seeing it appear again on Jimmy Fallon and the news. Now it means a 30-second video about a creator making a clever transition got 20 million views. But the problem is hundreds if not thousands of creators did something similar and also got 1 million views that day. If you were to casually whip out your phone mid-log sesh, it's likely you will stop to see a story time about getting fired from Chick-fil-A, to hearing news about the biggest environmental disaster of the decade, to the top fashion trends for this spring, all in the span of 60 seconds. Receiving this much information and entertainment in such a short time span is like diving into Scrooge McDuck's money pit, but the money is dopamine being mainlined into our receptors. This kind of instant gratification is why short-form content has begun to dominate our brains and the attention space. So it's no surprise why we've seen all platforms, including YouTube, try to capitalize on our addiction of short videos. Shorter videos also means more videos. The average person sees 198 short videos a day on TikTok alone. Not only does it take less time to produce something smaller based solely on length, instead of having to use separate applications, a DSLR, or other equipment to produce and compile a video for YouTube, most creators record and make edits within TikTok's easy built-in editor. No longer do you need to master the YouTube meta or get signed to a ginormous record label to produce an extravagant music video. In fact, you're better off creating a song that has what the kids these days call a TikTokable moment. Because when people are using your sound to create their own viral videos, your chances of being discovered by a new audience are much higher than if you were to post a music video with your artist name who nobody knows. And this logic has not been lost on musicians who are taking advantage of this unique time in history of music promotion. Artists such as Jake, Curfew, Jax, Swaco, Hemlock Springs, and many more have built an entire audience of millions solely off of posting short videos to TikTok. In many cases, it just took one video to kick off the buzz and exponential growth ensued. Jake's strategy of producing mashups with his mom, open mic/skits, and emotional reactions has resulted in him becoming one of the biggest artists in the world, with 28 million monthly listeners and songs with over 400 million plays. Hemlock Springs, an artist very much in the start of her musical journey, has amassed 1 million monthly listeners off of releasing a total of only 3 songs by posting clips to her TikTok. I remember a time a few years ago when this was happening on YouTube in the bedroom pop space. I would be watching a video essay and a music video from a relatively new artist would pop into my recommendations, and I fell in love. This is how I discovered Boy Pablo, Claro, Omaro Paulo, Still Woozy, Kuko, and many more. The Pretty Girl music video by Claro practically kickstarted her entire career with its immense and unexpected success, and that was the case for many of these artists. However, in the past year or so, I never get recommended music videos anymore, and like most of the user base, I rely mostly on these recommendations for what to watch. Times are changing and the way we are discovering new artists has certainly changed, but there's something about music videos as a catalyst that was so important to long-lasting success, and it just can't be replicated through TikTok alone. Since most viral videos on TikTok showcase the same verse every time, a track can get old quick, and a listener's connection to a song is much weaker and less personal.
The way nobody sang the next verse embarrassing as.
If this was Psy on stage in 2012, singing Gangnam Style in America, the crowd might not understand what the lyrics mean, but they would certainly be belting them out very proudly. The rise of TikTok and similar platforms has been great for increasing discovery of music and democratizing the music space even more. But this increased access and competition simply means there's going to be a lot of influential music, so it will be harder and harder for any track to hold as such significance as Gangnam Style. But we still have one stone left unturned. The last and final nail in the coffin, music streaming. People bought music in 2012, unless you were a pirate, in which case you were paying with the viruses on your computer. Or you might have been replaying the same video on YouTube over and over again. With the dominance of iTunes and lack of a proper music streaming service at the time, it made YouTube as a music consumption platform even more appealing. iTunes was known for transforming physical music sales into digital sales, and the revolution that was the iPod and iPhone made great partners with the service. There are both benefits and setbacks to the way music used to be consumed like this. On one hand, you'd probably listen to full albums because you paid for them, but on the other hand, if you wanted to listen to a song for one time spontaneously, you would have to pay, and then if you wanted it on your iPod, do the work of transferring everything.
Why don't you just buy the whole song?
I don't have to buy it. I just want to taste it.
Pandora, not that one. Pandora, not that one. Pandora, not that one. Okay, finally. The streaming service Pandora is sort of the controversial grandfather that says too much at Thanksgiving when it comes to streaming services. This platform started the music streaming service craze, but it had a lot of quirks. Notably, depending on how you used the like and dislike feature, there was a high probability you would be stuck listening to the same 15 songs on repeat. But when a report came back in 2013 that the service had over 200 million users, it was clear that this was the way music was going to be consumed. So when Spotify showed up with a more straightforward approach to music streaming and a highly improved user interface compared to the latter, Spotify rose to prominence. So what does all this mean for Gangnam Style and music videos? Well, there is less incentive to watch music videos on YouTube. With a subscription, Spotify allows you to do something that in 2012 was impossible. Play a song instantly with an intuitively designed search system, and it continues to play even if you turn your phone off or have no data. There was a time when I would use the YouTube app as a literal music player, walking through the middle school hallways with Weezer's Beverly Hills music video playing in my pocket. Thank God no one pickpocketed me and saw I was listening to Weezer. It's not likely that they would get to hear it, as I had no data at the time, and yet that made the experience of listening to music even more special. It's not a surprise why vinyls and other more tactile forms of music consumption have seen a rise. The clunk, physical interaction, and a small pool of songs is required, whereas I have everything at my fingertips now, which suddenly makes everything somehow seem less remarkable. Music videos will always be an avenue for artists to express themselves in a form of art in itself, and I don't think we appreciate that enough. Gangnam Style, both the song and video, may not be considered peak art, and when it was released, many critics had a lot to say. It spawned many parodies, both making fun of it and with it, which practically jump-started a whole genre on YouTube. But it's not trying to be something it's not. It's not pretentious, nor does it have 7 layers of irony. The stars aligned together for this track to exist. Korea's pressure to be the best at everything, technological advancements, accessibility, and increasing popularity of online video sharing. And it's also due to those exact reasons why there will never ever be another song like Gangnam Style again. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, you can leave a dislike. I hope you enjoyed, but maybe give Gangnam Style another listen so we can beat Baby Shark in terms of views. Alright, goodbye everybody.